Today, as you look at your visuals, it'll give you a little bit more in depth about what I'm going to be speaking on today. I did a brochure because I felt like sometimes after you hear it, it'll give you time to really think about it after I finish my speech and some of the things that I touch on. My purpose today, I want to give you all a different perspective. I've often heard, well, if they come to our country, then they need to speak our language, which I do agree to a certain extent. But I hope to offer enough information with my speech today to allow those who don't agree with teaching our children a second language a different perspective. And I really feel that we are disadvantaging our country and our children by only teaching them English. Do you feel that our children are better off not being taught or being exposed to a different language? If learning a second language is easier when you're in elementary school, then why not start then instead of waiting till high school? We're almost punishing our high school students as they struggle through Spanish or French class, which they have to take to graduate. Wouldn't it be easier to just teach our children a second language in elementary school instead of worrying about, teaching English to those who speak Spanish now as a second language? Shouldn't we educate our children to speak many languages? I believe that this would give ESL students and English-speaking students a better understanding of each other and a more common ground. In 2010, the U.S. Secretary Arnie Duncan stated that Americans need to read, they need to speak and understand other languages. If we choose to give our children the knowledge to speak other languages, then we are opening up many more doors for their future. If nothing else, exposing them to other languages is going to help them out in high school as they struggle through their French or Spanish class to graduate. I think this would be a great addition if we would start teaching our children a second language in elementary school. I think it would be great for our public school. Teaching the English language alone in our country is a disadvantage to our students who could pick up a second language easier than waiting until their high school years. I believe that our unwillingness to offer our children a chance to learn a second language in their elementary school years is hurting their chances to speak a second language when they're older. Preschool children learn by immersing themselves in play and exploration, and this is why some believe that it is much easier for smaller children to pick up a second language versus an adult trying to listen to a tape and constantly redirect their brains trying to learn a new language. I know that many people think that our children are already scoring too low and have a hard time with the English language, but I think the real problem is that our students are struggling with reading, which is common, and they're struggling with the written English language, not with the actual speech of the English language. So if we would just focus on the speech of a different language, I don't see where it would hurt them at all, and they would still be getting what they need for English. It was a big thing in my elementary school days. I had a teacher who constantly, she would tell us how to speak in English. Oh, this is a snowman. And then she would tell us what it was in Spanish. She would also show us how to sign it. So sign language in Spanish in my elementary school was a big thing. Because of this, when I took Spanish in high school, it was a little bit easier for me. And I still know some of the sign language today that I was taught in elementary school. This is why I'm really trying to push this. Are we the only country that is not giving our children the opportunity to speak and understand more than one language? In other countries around the world, they are learning English. It is mandatory for them to learn English. They start learning different languages in 3rd grade. Once they learn one language well enough, they are allowed to move on to another language. If these students are getting that opportunity, I believe that we should also be given the chance to learn another language as well. The foreign exchange students that have come to stay with our family have all learned different languages, which started in 3rd grade. They have had many doors open because of their knowledge of languages, and to them it's not really a big deal, which to us it is a big deal. We only know how to speak English. We aren't fluent in any other language. I believe if we offered our students a foreign language special area instead of just making it mandatory in a regular class, then we're not hurting them. They're just being exposed. It's just a special class that they would go to maybe once a week, and it wouldn't affect their other studies at all. Not knowing can actually cause other problems in our nation. If other languages are being taught in other countries, then we could possibly be the only country who only understands one language. Maybe some Spanish for those of us who do know some Spanish. This could eventually cause a national security problem if we believe that we should only know one language. In the war against the Japanese during Pearl Harbor, Americans used the Navajo Native Americans to speak their language to translate messages back and forth. Because of them speaking this language back and forth, the Japanese had no knowledge of what was going on. If they would have been able to translate this, then they would have known America's plans. They were unable to figure out what was being said because they had no knowledge of their language. This helped us out. What if history repeats itself, but not in our favor? I believe by teaching other languages, we will no longer wonder what people are saying in another language. We will know what they're saying. I believe the more languages that those in our country know, the better off we are as a society. We would be able to reach more people and help more people. If it is easier to learn a different language when you are young, I can't find a reason not to argue with the thought of teaching other languages in our country. No matter what your opinion is on the matter, I hope that you have considered the pros and cons of learning or not learning a second language. Nelson Mandela said, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart." I believe in the power of knowledge. If you provide our future, which are our children, with the knowledge of more languages, then we are taking off the limitations that hold them back from reaching others. Imagine the things that they could do if they could reach more people because they can speak their language. English should always come first because that is our biggest spoken language here. I think that everyone should learn it because it is very widely populated everywhere. But the ability to learn other languages early in life will benefit our children throughout their lives. Thank you.
Yay.